Hi, this is Nick Mitchell, and this is part 3 in the video tutorial series on digital notebooks. This video is all about what students need to do to set up their own digital notebook and also how to keep it organized. So I'm assuming you've already gone through and made your own digital notebook template that's ready to share with your students. So the first thing I'm going to walk you through is how your students can find that template and set up their own notebook with it. Now, just like I'm doing now, I'm making a screencast. Thus, using a screencast is one of the best ways to actually walk your own students through this. Something about watching a video kind of pulls their attention in. So I usually make a video like this for my own students to show them that they can follow along. The nice thing about that is as students are following along with a video, you're free to walk around the classroom and help the few kids that get stuck on something. You can do that. So I highly suggest making your own screencast kind of like this of walking through these steps. Alright, so your students will begin in their Drive. That's the first place they're going to go, and then they need to get to Google Sites, because remember your template's in Google Sites. So they'll go up to the little grid thing there, they'll click on Sites, that'll bring them here. Alright, now they're creating a new site, so they're going to click the Create button. But they need to make sure to find your template, because they don't just want a blank site, right? They want to use the template for the digital notebook that you set up. So what they'll do to find your template, browse the gallery for more, and then they can do a search. So you want to make sure to give it your template a clear name. So mine's just called Digital Notebook, and then we'll search, and there it is. They can click on the template and then scroll down and select. Okay, then they're going to create a site using that template. They can give it a name. I just have my students put their own name, like Nick Mitchell's Digital Science Notebook, and put that in there. This takes a couple minutes to create a site in Google Sites once you hit that Create button. Here's what'll pop up if they've created a site like the template that I made. One of the very first things you want students to do is to share the site with you. That way you have access to their digital notebook. So they'll go to the blue Share button, and just as you normally would share any Google Doc, they can share it with you. Go down to Invite. I have them put me on as an editor, even though I tell them I'm not going to go in and change anything. If you're an editor, it can allow you to do things like fix pages of their site if they have a problem. Alright, so what are they going to do? So once they've got their site, their digital notebook based on your template loaded up, they've shared it with you. First thing they need to do is a little customization on the cover. You can be as simple or as creative as you want with this. I have my students put their name on it, so where your name here is, they go in and type their own name, and I also have them add a picture, but you can add extra stuff. I mean, the cover is really as personalizable as you want it to be, so they could add photos. I have my template with a photo album down here of recent science pics, so that shows up automatically. Up to you. You should have already in your template set up these stickers that will be links to the different sections in your class or the different units, however your class is structured. So that should be set, and you can still tell students they don't need to mess around with any of that. So once they're done with that, they hit save. And now all they need to do is go into the unit that you're going to be teaching and add their Drive folders. So this is something that you can, in Drive, remember all the paperless documents are based on Google Drive and Google Docs. So you can either, if you're using a service like Hapara, which I talked about in a previous video, this will actually set up the Drive folders for all your students automatically, which is kind of another cool feature of something like Hapara. If you're not using a service like Hapara, it's not a big deal to have students make their own folders. Again, you'll just have to walk them through. So what they'll do, they go into their Drive, they'll hit Create, they'll create a folder, and you want to tell them to give it a specific name. So for example, I have my students, they have 3 folders for science: science class, science homework, and science lab. And these correspond to, when you go into a unit, like let's say the first unit, science inquiry, those Drive folders are going to correspond to the 3 different types of documents in their notebook. Class documents, which for my own students is kind of personal documents, like their notes. lab documents, which are more often shared collaborative documents, like when they work with a lab team, and then homework stuff, which is just like a way of keeping all their homework documents in one place, easy for them to find. Then they'll go into that unit. So let's say our first unit is Science Inquiry. I'm going to have them go here, and all they need to do is add those folders to the 3 pages. So if they go to the class stuff folder, here we go, they're going to go into editing mode by clicking on the pencil. And on this page, they're simply going to insert the science class folder. So click down at the bottom of the page, insert drive, because remember it's all coming from Google Drive, insert folder. And I'll just put an example folder in there for now. So you can put in, it's easier in the list view, I find. Folders, 0 science class. That's the name of that example folder that I have. Sometimes it won't appear, and all they need to do is click on Google Drive and search again. Science class. Here we go, class stuff. That'll work. Select, save. You don't need to change any options here, and then save. And here, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. When it loads, so this will have their class, that folder directly from Google Drive will appear here. Any documents they have, like these are some, actually this is one of my example folders here. You can see some documents already in that folder. Now again, the nice thing about the digital notebook is that when you share documents with students, and if you're using a service like Hapara or Doctopus, it'll automatically put those new documents in their correct folder, so it'll automatically appear in their digital notebook. So students don't have to go searching around Drive to find stuff. They'll just open their notebook, you'll tell them to go to their class stuff, and their new documents will appear there. One thing I've learned from last year that you noticed I didn't do last year was the numbering. If you want the documents to be in a chronological order, you can use a numbering system like 01, 02, 03, because the only way that it sorts these documents in Google Sites is based on the title. It won't sort them any other way. So using that numbering system is a helpful way to keep things organized. Alright, so once they've done that on class stuff, they're going to do the exact same thing on the 2 other pages. So lab stuff, they would insert the science lab folder, and homework stuff, they would insert the science homework folder. And that's it. They can stop right there, because all you really need for your first unit is those first 3 pages set up. One more suggestion when working with your students is to have them bookmark the cover page of their digital science notebook. That way it's just easy for them to get to, and that way they get in the habit of using the science notebook instead of going into Drive. They can find things directly in Drive, but usually it'll take more time, and it also means they're not going to be using they're not seeing some of the other aspects of your notebook that you might have, things like the study guide, or if you're using a progress chart, learning dashboard, that kind of stuff. Okay, now they're done. You can start using their digital notebook. That's it. So really, with a class that's like 10 minutes and they're off and running. Pretty simple. When you finish a unit, there is a little bit of cleanup that you'll want your students to do to keep it organized, because what you'll notice, I can show you an example here, as you go through a unit, a paperless unit, you pile up lots of documents. I mean, here's the list of documents we used from our chemistry unit last year. There's a lot of them. If you keep piling unit after unit after unit, pretty soon their folder is just going to get unwieldy. So after each unit of study, I have my students do a little spring cleaning. So basically what we're going to do is, let's say we're starting a new unit. Okay. So let's say we're moving into the ecology unit. So we're finished with scientific inquiry as a unit. You're never really finished with scientific inquiry, but that's another matter. And we're moving into ecology. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Google Drive, and we're going to create some subfolders. So inside our science class folder, we're going to put a folder for all that inquiry stuff that we don't really need anymore. We're not deleting it, but we can hide it. So in that folder, we're going to create a subfolder called Science Inquiry Class Stuff. And this is in the class stuff folder, remember. So now we have a Science Inquiry Class Stuff folder in my science class folder. Once you have your subfolders. So you're going to need to make a Science Inquiry class stuff folder. You're going to do the same thing in Science Homework. So you need to make a Science Inquiry Homework subfolder. In Science Lab folder, you need a Science Inquiry Lab stuff folder. Once you have those 3 subfolders, you're going to have students drag all their Science Inquiry stuff, their old documents, into those subfolders. That way they no longer appear when they go into their digital notebook. They'll just see this folder, but they won't see all that stuff. And what they'll do back in their digital notebook is, in the Science Inquiry unit, take out the regular class stuff folder and put that special class stuff folder, the Science Inquiry one, in here. That way when they open up their unit, they'll just see the Science Inquiry stuff. Now, when they get ready for their new ecology unit, they'll do the same thing that they did before for ecology. So they'll go into the ecology page, go to class stuff, and here they'll put in their class stuff, their normal class stuff folder. Let me show you what the finished product looks like. What they'll see is this. They'll see just their new ecology documents, and all the Science Inquiry stuff will be hidden in that folder. So it's still there, they can still get to it, but doesn't mean they have to scroll down to find their documents. So that makes it a lot easier. Okay, and there you have it. That's all that students need to do during the year, the beginning of the year and during the year, to keep a digital notebook up and running. So that little bit of setting up the folders on the beginning of the year, and then that regular cleanup, which is one of the great advantages of digital notebooks. It helps keep students organized. They can't lose their digital documents, but it doesn't take a lot of time to help students stay organized. All right, hope these tutorials have been helpful.